he's one of these guys who laughs for no apparent reason. And so I was sitting next to him and he just busted out laughing. And I wanted to be polite, so I busted out laughing. And then he would laugh and I would laugh and I would try to throw in a joke to justify the laughter. And finally, out of nervousness, he had a little Dalai Lama bag, a little canvas bag. And I said, "You got any candy in the bag?" And so he started pulling out the stuff that was in the bag. It was basically everything you get in the first class cabin of an international flight. So it was like the earplugs, the eye shades, a little razor, and a big Toblerone bar. So he did have candy. So why does he generate an inner light? Because he has a firm identity. His life is integrated around one thing. About his identity, about his soul, about his practices of his faith, and about his group and his feeling for his people who were persecuted. Now, when is identity formed? I mean, his identity was formed when he was like 6 months and they decided he was God. But for the rest of us, it's formed at teenage years. It's formed in high school. I remember in high school, my identity was formed. I read a book and I decided I was going to become a writer. And ever since that day, I knew I was going to be a writer. I remember in high school, I wanted to date a girl named Bernice. She didn't want to date me. I remember thinking, she dated some other guy. I remember thinking, what does she need? I write way better than that guy. And when your identity is formed in those years, and sometimes your identity is formed under challenging circumstances. Like Susie, I went to a Christian school. I went to a school called Grace Church Episcopal School in Lower Manhattan. I was part of the all-Jewish boys davening choir at Grace. We were about 40% Jewish in the choir. And to square the hymns with our religion, we wouldn't sing the word Jesus. And so the volume would drop down. And so we're in complex circumstances and our identity is formed. And so what you see here is like a Woodstock of Jewish identity. You see all these people coming together and their identity as Jews is inflamed by the presence of each other. And what we've seen tonight is these amazing, invisible, magical, and quantum connections. If anybody saw that movie Interstellar, there are these connections across time and space of love. And so we've seen a connection across geography, across generations, across remoteness, or at least Jewish remoteness. The Ukrainian connection, I bet half the people in this room have some kind of connection to Ukraine. And it's what we've seen is those invisible connections come alive and come activated, like in Interstellar. And we probably all have these connections. A magazine called Moment Magazine did a test, saliva test of 30 writers. And they tested our DNA to see how many of us were related to each other. Now, I only have one Jewish parent. My father converted. And I was related to 12 of the 30. And some of them I was really pleased to be related to. Steven Pinker, great writer, Robert Siegel of NPR, Alan Dershowitz is my third cousin, turns out. Some of them I was less honored to be related to, but we won't mention them. But the fact is, we all have these vestigial relationships. And so a lot of us are actually related by blood. We're also related by heritage, by Passover Seder, by Moses, by Maimonides, by Adam Sandler, by half of Goldie Hawn. We're related by rituals, the Shabbat meals, the global Shabbat. And these are the things we've inherited. But it seems to me the challenge for us going forward is to take what we've inherited and to build something out of it. What do we do with this legacy that we've been handed? And so some of it is involved in creating something that's deeper than just an identity, deeper than just a tribal identity, but is actually a moral quality of character, and taking the inheritance and turning it into an advancing righteousness. Now, how do we do that? Some of it is just a friendship that will come naturally to these 2,400 kids. Some of it is service. Let's face it, these kids, 2,400 of them, they're 17, they're 18. They're going to grow up in an atmosphere of a darkening world. They're going to grow up in an atmosphere of challenging racial relationships which they will have a responsibility to do something about, challenging inequality, authoritarians rising around the world, a Middle East that is divided by Sunni and Shia, and these are only some of the threats around the world. There's also Ted Cruz. And they will be, And so they will be challenged by those things, and they'll be asked to give back and turn the legacy of being Jewish, tikkun olam, the amazing intellectual heritage we've well inherited, to do something good for the world. I feel like the Huns are at the gate. And so they will do that by community. I really got to speed up now. They will do it by service. But the one thing I hope they do it by is by faith. Judaism is a people. We're people. We have these common roots. We have these common genes. But we also are faith. We are religion. We're Abraham's ready to sacrifice Isaac. We're Moses arguing with God. We're Sarah being blessed with a late child. We're David seeking forgiveness. We're the fury and the humiliation of David in the Psalms. We're the joy rabbis feel when they study Torah. We would not have survived as people if we were not of faith. And so while we celebrate our community, and while we celebrate our rituals, we will not survive, especially in a darkening world, unless we take Torah study seriously, unless we take prayer seriously, moral orientation seriously, theology seriously, study seriously. That's the substance and the intellectual, moral substance behind what we do and why we survive. And getting together is just the start. Education and content and study and faith is the advancement. And the great thing about Judaism, and the great thing about any religion, frankly, is that we're in a world of institutions that emphasize the head, the SAT score, the job skills, but Judaism is the union of the head, the heart, the soul, and the body. And it's a way to seek a language that unites us as whole people, which is something we rarely get in any other sphere of life. And so what I see among these kids today is their whole selves being electrified. And I hope they take that and develop it and deepen it and save our asses for our generation. Thank you.